housing market about to crash?
The home construction ETF, the ITB, it is tracking for its worst month since 2020.
Buying a house right now might seem like a bad idea, but is all the noise online about real estate crashing actually true? Yes, but it's not what you think. Let's start with houses. Redfin is saying that home prices nationwide were up 3.1% year over year in February. At the same time, the number of homes sold fell 5.7%. Basically, prices have gone up a little because of inflation, but they're not selling, baby. The number of homes for sale rose to 12.4%. So basically, we got homes going up slightly in price, but less homes are being bought and more homes are going on the market. Is it a crash? No, it's not a crash. And residential is a market that just keeps going. We had a crash of residential all the way back in 2008. Why? Because they handed out too much money to people that couldn't pay it.
How many loans do you write each month?
About 60. Yeah. No income, no job. I just leave the income section blank if I want. Corporate doesn't care.
That's why we had a crash. Is that happening right now? I don't believe so. It's all about interest rates being higher and less people are buying because in a lot of cases, it's cheaper to rent. The current median sale price is $425,000, unless you're in Mississippi. Then you can still get one for $59.99. In June, prices always peak. Then, from June, it starts going down and hits bottom in December. It's a season, just like the hotel business. A lot of people in the residential market, they took out very long loans, 20 years even, 25 maybe, and they locked in a very low rate. So they're not gonna sell. Why? Because they don't want to give up that cheap money, buy another house, and pay double the interest. So things are just steady right now and staying flat. Maybe buying a house is not the most smartest thing to do. Maybe it's not an affordable choice. Interest rates are 7%, property taxes are going up, insurance is going up, everything's going up. But none of this really matters as long as you know how much you can afford and you go out and find a deal. Instead of buying a house, maybe you should be looking at 2, 3, or 4 units and live for free, maybe even cash flow. I don't see much fluctuation in the residential housing market. There's always going to be movement in certain areas. Florida and Texas, people are always moving in, they're always moving out. COVID forced a lot of people to relocate, but now it's just going to keep rolling along and prices are going to stay right where they're at. Interest rates are not going to come down anytime soon to make a big difference. That's what's going to bring prices up. When interest rates go down, people can afford to borrow more money, so they're going to spend more money. Right now, it's flat. You buy what you can afford, but you'd always try to find a deal.
I wasn't always loaded, I had to stay down when they got what I wanted. Now when they see me, them bitches be on me. Now when I pull up, them niggas hate on me. I got more money than niggas big homies. Had the ground for the shit, did it all by my loan.
Selling homes. Now, the reason why he brings up maybe some of the extra challenges when it comes to buying units is there's a whole nother set of criteria, a whole nother set of obstacles that need to be overcome. So working with someone that does this day in and day out is essential because dealing with tenants can be a headache. Making sure that you're given the proper notices and managing the building in the proper manner is huge, right? And so working with someone that's not quite familiar with that, you'll find that a lot of those headaches get passed on directly to you and everyone's sitting there scratching their head trying to figure out what to do.
So there you have it. That's step 4, and that's choosing the right agent to represent you on your behalf. Let's talk about step 5, which is writing offers. So now we're pre-approved. You've chosen the real estate broker that's going to represent you. So now you're submitting offers. What's that mean, Caleb, when we're submitting offers?
So we write offers day in and day out for clients at all different price points, all different unit counts. And so in a nutshell, there's a few components that are really the main terms of the offer. So obviously one is the price. The second is going to be the escrow period and the down payment. And obviously there's 3 contingencies, which are going to be the physical contingency, the appraisal contingency, and the loan contingency. A lot of agents think that price is really the only way to stand out. Now, when you're working with professionals that, again, do this every day, you'll find that there's ways to kind of chop down some of those contingency periods, outside of price that will make that offer stand out amongst a pool of competitors because let's face it, it's a hot market. it's hard to secure an investment. And so working with someone that knows what they're doing and the different ways to structure an offer is really important.
One of the questions that we get is, how do I know if it's a good deal? If you're working with the right agent, then hopefully that agent is able to show you that you're making a wise decision on this investment, right? We want to make sure that it's going to make you money, that you're not overpaying for the property, and that it's a property that we could make some renovations to it. Maybe we could add some value to it to raise the rents. And so when it comes to choosing the right property, we look at everything that's on the market. We compare to across each other with a program that we have. We call it the Investigator. And so we look at every property out there. We let you know if cash flow is important, you buy this. If location is important, then we're going to show you some properties in that area. And so when writing the offers, we play a very active role in making sure that we advise you. And after the first couple offers, it gets easy. We always tell people, don't fall in love with the first property you see, because the market's so hard right now that we're sometimes writing 5 to 8 offers per client to get them that right property. Because
here finding deals. Our surveys here at Bigger Pockets found that finding deals was actually the second biggest perceived challenge to investing in real estate, only behind funding, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. And note that I said perceived challenge because finding deals is not something to be overwhelmed by. Here are 3 strategies that you can use. 1, you can drive for dollars. That's basically going around and identifying properties that you want to buy. You could do a similar strategy with direct mail, just mailing out marketing materials to owners. And both of those 2 strategies, you're basically trying to find someone who hasn't yet listed their property, but might be open to selling to you. And because you contacted them first, they might be willing to sell to you and you can get a great deal. You can also look at other off-market deals on Craigslist or Facebook. So feel free to use any of these strategies if you want. But do you want to know my personal favorite strategy for finding deals? Well, it's pretty easy. You just work with an investor-friendly agent. And I know there are a lot of complicated strategies, but you could just go find a good agent and they will send you deals. The duplex I bought a couple of weeks ago was on market and I found it because of my agent. Just in the last couple of days, my agent sent me 4 different off-market deals that I have been analyzing and actually might make an offer on one of them sometime during this week. So it doesn't have to be super complicated. You can just find a good agent and have them send you deals. Now, if you're wondering, how do I find an agent with the knowledge to help an investor? That could be super easy. Whether you're in it out of state or you just want to invest in your local market, you can get matched with an investor-friendly agent by going to biggerpockets.com/agent. We have this tool, it's called the Agent Finder. It makes it super easy to tap into our trusted network of investor-friendly agents. You basically put in a couple of data points about yourself, like what your budget is, when you're looking to buy, and within like 2 minutes, you're gonna get a free match with an agent who really understands the mentality of an investor and understands duplexes, triplexes, those small multifamilies. So that is probably the easiest way you can go find deals, is just to get a great agent. All right, now that you have a time-friendly strategy for finding deals, let's move on to step 2, which is analyzing deals. And I actually think analyzing deals, I'm biased because I wrote a book about analyzing deals, but I actually believe that analyzing deals is the most important skill in real estate investing. And that's because no matter what your deal finding strategy is, you're going to need to analyze tons of deals. Even if you have the best agent in the world, they're probably going to send you 10, 20, 30 different deals that you're going to need to actually run the numbers on before you can find one that makes sense for you. You're going to have a lot of leads coming in regardless of your strategy, and you need to find the one that makes sense for you, right? Not only do you need to find the best deal, but you also need to know which deals to avoid so you don't wind up getting yourself into a bad situation. And I know for people who have never analyzed a deal before, maybe don't like math that much, the term deal analysis can feel a bit intimidating, but I promise you it does not have to be hard. Actually, I'm going to show you how incredibly easy it is to run a deal in maybe 10 minutes or less using the Bigger Pockets rental property calculator. Okay, so I found this deal earlier today. It is in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I picked Green Bay just because I saw some list recently that said it was the highest quality of life or best place to live, something like that. I thought, let's look for a deal. What I found was a duplex, 2 identical units. So you can see here, they're both about 1,200 square feet, and each side is 2 bed, 1 bath. And the seller is projecting the rent at $2,400 a month, and it's listed for sale at $180,000. Okay, and if you haven't done this before, you want to follow along, you just go up here to tools and go to rental property. And then I'll just show you, view my reports. You can keep track of them. I use this stuff all the time. You can see that I'm constantly looking at different deals here, but now I'm just going to hit start a new report. The first thing that we're going to do here is I'm going to go back to our deal and just copy and paste the address here. We're going to go here and just copy and paste this. It's going to pull in some information. You can see the calculator is thinking here and it's importing the data. And then I'm going to add a photo. I just am more visual. When I'm analyzing a lot of deals, and like I said, you're going to need to do 10 or 20 before you find that right deal. I just find it easier to remember them with a little photo. So I'm going to add this picture here. Next, we're going to go on to purchase information, which was $179,900. And our closing costs are going to be $5,000. Now, if you've never bought a deal, you're probably wondering, where did that $5,000 come from? Well, I've bought a lot of deals and I know that's about what I average. But if you ever get stuck on the BiggerPockets calculator, just go over to here where they have these help little buttons and hit that. And you can see that the average is 1% to 2%, or if you're unsure, use 1.5% of the purchase price. That's a good number to begin with. So that is how I figured out my closing costs. Now, if you want to rehab your property, you can click this button and put in an after repair value and repair costs. But this is a pretty nice property, so I'm not anticipating rehabbing it. So I'm just going to move right along to our loan details. Now, loans, because I'm an investor and I would be buying this property out of state, I have to put 25% down. That's the most common when you're not owner occupying it. If you are going to do a house hack, you could put 10 or 20% down. But for me, since we're analyzing this deal and I'm going to give you my example, we're going to use 25%, and I'm going to use my interest rate of 6.75%, which is what I was quoted most recently. Points charged, I'm going to put 0 because I'm putting that 25% down. And then loan term is going to be 30 years because I personally love long-term fixed debt. All right, we are flying through this, guys. Hopefully you can see that there are 5 steps in analyzing the deal, and we've already done 3 of them. We're done with property info, purchase, and loan details. Now we do rent income. So I'm going to pop over to this tool to get a rent estimate here. And all you need to do here, guys, is again, go to tools, scroll down here to rent estimator. I put in the information and I went to see and make sure that this is correct, that it is 2-bed, 1-bath. And what you can see here is that the median rent here is actually about $1,250 a month. And the calculator is confident. One of the things I love here is, like, if you're in a really rural area, you might not find a lot of rent comps, and the calculator will actually tell you, you know what, we don't know if this is a good deal or not, or we don't have good comps, but they're confident. And you can actually go and look at all the different comps here if you want to check them out for yourself. So I'm going to now assume that we're going to have $1,250 of rent per side. So remember that when we go and put it back in the calculator, we're going to use 2,500. So we saw that it was $1,250 per side. So I'm going to put in 2,500 because remember that's a duplex. And we're just going to move on to our last step, which is expenses. So our first expenses are going to be what are known as fixed expenses, property taxes, insurance. These are things that you know, for at least for that year, what they're going to cost. Property taxes for this property are going to be about $1,200. Property are going to be about $1,200. And for our insurance, we're going to pay about $1,000. Again, you can get some help estimating these things, but I honestly just recommend Googling them if you don't already know. Once we move past our fixed expenses, we go on to what are known as variable expenses, which are things like repairs and maintenance, vacancies, and CapEx. Now, repairs and maintenance, I like to put around 8%. Vacancy, I also put 8%. And for CapEx, I'm going to put 5% because it's a little bit newer. Now, if you don't know what CapEx means, it's kind of like repairs, but it's actually bigger things like a roof or a HVAC system or making improvements to the property. But since, again, this is a pretty modern, updated building, I'm going to keep my repair and CapEx expense estimates on the low side. Then I'm going to move on to management fees, which as an out-of-state investor, I typically pay about 8%. So I'm going to put that there. And then what I love about small multifamilies, one thing you should look out for with small multifamilies is whether you can meter the utilities separately. I always look for deals where the tenants pay their own electricity and gas. because I just don't want to be involved in that. If you can't, that's fine. You can charge through, you can pay the, utilities yourself and then basically just charge the tenants for it. But I really like it, think it simplifies the analysis. It simplifies your operations if you just find these things that are metered separately. So you don't pay electricity, gas, water, sewer. You usually pay garbage. It's like $25 a month. And that's it, guys. We're done. We just analyzed a deal. I was explaining things as we went. I was talking a lot, and it probably took me less than 5 minutes to do. And so in just 5 minutes, what you can see is this is actually an exceptional deal. Not every deal you look at is going to be this good, everyone. Just want to point that out. I honestly didn't analyze this deal ahead of time, but $700 a month of cash flow and a 17% ROI is really, really high. So if this, if I was in the Green Bay market, this is probably a deal I would be looking to buy immediately. But one of the cool things about the calculator is you can go through here and double check your assumptions. So like maybe let's just say I can't get a 6.8% mortgage. And actually this week it's up to 7.1%. Okay, well, it's still a good cash flow and it's still a good cash on cash return. Or maybe when I go and contact my property manager, they're like, Dave, yeah, $2,500 is stretching it. We feel more comfortable if you want to be conservative underwriting this deal. Maybe let's just say $2,250 as a deal. Okay, well, because this calculator is so easy to use, I can see, hey, even if I miss by 10% on my rent estimates and my mortgage quote comes in higher, I'm still getting a phenomenal 11.6% cash on cash return, making almost $500 a month. So hopefully you can see, if you can find a deal like this, you can see that it doesn't take that many properties to be able to find financial freedom.